Welcome, dear friends, to yet another episode of Homeomitra Vartaalap. We bring guests from all over the world to Homeomitra Vartaalap so that they can share with us their wisdom, their knowledge, their experience, and so that we can learn from those experiences. Today, we have a special guest all the way from Germany. Welcome, Mr. Gandolf Rottmann. I hope I've tried my best to pronounce it correctly.
Yes, it's right.
Thank you.
Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you for an invitation and for the introduction to let the listeners know and the viewers. I work as a natural practitioner in Germany, but I'm originally living in Austria, in Salzburg.
Okay, great. So I'll just give you an idea about how I approached Gandalf is I follow him on Facebook and I read the post that he shares, and it got me a deep sense of activism that he has towards getting patients better with the help of natural medicine. So we are going to touch these topics in today's podcast. We learn a bit about his own journey into homeopathy, his academic journey, his practice, then about the activism that he does. And there are two very interesting topics that we are going to touch upon is the music as something that has which he has used to connect homeopathy to healing. And the second part is integration of different types of natural therapies for the betterment of patient. So I would request all of you to stay till the end of the podcast so that you can understand this thing holistically, comprehensively. So if you could tell us something about yourself, why did you choose homeopathy? Where did you get educated in homeopathy?
So to start with, my first vocation after many years of school connected to music was music itself for studying the chess drums in Vienna at conservatory. And the bridge to medicine was that there was a lot of cancer in my family and also in the families of their friends. And I really was deep impressed how this could be possible that there is so seldom cure. What is the reason for that? And I was blessed with my mother. She was a musician teacher, playing piano and flute and guitar. And I also had these surroundings as an early childhood impression. And therefore, this part was essential for me to come closer to something. So I was a curious person to be interested in what is the reason why, and open-minded as I think so many musicians are. I started the journey, and I also was blessed with her bridge to natural medicine. So I never received any antibiotics during my childhood, never a painkiller, something like this. It was always just with maybe some Schüssler salts or herbs and so on, and vegetarian food. So I had quite a influence that you can care for yourself. You have to be aware of what you are doing. And of course, I would say it's always this similarity with making music, with awareness, being connected with others and being connected with yourself. So this is maybe one topic I want to share also with my patients to reconnect with their needs, with their heart sound, and listen to their inner voice, what is really essential for their lives. And to come back to my education for the homeopathic path, there was during that time an open speech for homeopathy in AKH, the biggest hospital in Vienna. And I was impressed by this physician. And I knew if you want to make homeopathy in Austria, you have to be a physician. There's nothing like that in Germany, that you can work as a natural practitioner and being focused for homeopathy. I'm very sorry for that. I think homeopathy would be an own profession in itself, because you know it yourself how much you have to study, and it's not like few hours a side topic. So I was early introduced to Hahnemann works, and I started with Organon and the chronic disease. And for myself, it made totally sense what he's writing. And to pick out one particular topic, it was you have to know about the reasons what made you sick, when did it start, and of course you have to stop these influences. So only to look for a pill or a treatment and not change something in your life that made you sick. It was obvious. I thought, okay, totally clear. This was one bridge where I thought it makes totally sense what Hahnemann is writing. And I was impressed with all the details of the remedy provings, how detailed the provings were described by the patients or his provers. And this is something I'm still feel blessed that the founder of homeopathy invited us to go deep in our feelings. Some patients, to be honest, are sometimes overwhelmed to describe it, and if I ask and go deeper, for some of them it's nasty. Maybe you share this experience, but I think this is a really helpful bridge, that you are more in contact with your body. It's a really present, a gift, I would say, and to take a bit more care which signs are offered, to say, oh, it feels like that, and that this can be a bridge directly to a remedy, is really impressive. To be cautious, but simple. It's not that the patients have to study themselves anything. If they come closer in contact, it can lead to a remedy prescription. So therefore, I was really impressed from this idea. And during my education with homeopathy in this student organization from Vienna, there were different teachers from Germany, Switzerland, Austria, some partly also from India. And I made the experience that, like your introduction was, we can learn so much from each other, from the daily practice. And this was really helpful to see how many aspects you have to observe. An unconditional observer, like Hahnemann say, it's really a challenge. And so if you have many hints from many practitioners, it's always helpful. And so in my first years of studying also medicine, I saw how far away is the connection with the needs of the patients. And of course, it is helpful to know about the physiology and biology and anatomy, but you're not as close as it should be with the patient. And one topic in psychology of medicine was that in average, during the so-called school medicine, you have about 2 minutes time for speaking with the patients in hospitals. There are actual researches that there are about 7 minutes, and you know it yourself. This, I think, is one of the big topics. Patients need more time to be understood. What is their need? So, coming back to making music, to learn an instrument, and if I compare our body with an instrument, to learn a bit more about him, it needs time. Every instrument, it needs really a lot of time. So it makes sense for me, of course, to come closer to the language and the instrument of a patient. You have to listen to his sound. So also my experience is that some pieces, if you say every biography is a composition of life, a composition of creative possibility on this planet, you could imagine that also this biography of suffering is a composition in itself, and it needs time to give the opportunity to listen to this biography. And therefore, I made experience that patients, not always, but again and again, told me, they tell me something they never were asked, and they never told parts of their life before, sometimes after months, years, or decades. So I think this is quite, I would say, a tragedy for the conventional medicine, that there is no time and space to say, okay, if you have chronic disease, it's a long composition and experience for that path. Let's have a break and go deeper. What could be the reasons? And also to invite patients to think themselves, what could be the reason why it started. So to develop the competition or the empowerment, to create a path of coming closer to healing themselves. So the intelligence of the wisdom and the wisdom of the body needs only few inspirations. We would say globalists can inspire healing by itself. So the most important part, and this makes for me also as a musician totally sense, the first step of healing is always listen. First listen. And so the further development for education was that I also was blessed to come in contact with Dr. Spinedi from Switzerland. And nevertheless, some colleagues may be more open-minded for very different topics of homeopathy. For me, these roots for classical homeopathy, to stay close with the literature of Hahnemann and his disciples, was very helpful, also to understand how important the exactly grooving was. And I made myself the experience to see how efficient homeopathy can work. I had a chronic disease myself for 25 years. I visited also practitioners and physicians with homeopathy, but they didn't use the classical path, not a very exact interview. And I was sorry for that, but they couldn't help me. And through the inspiration to read the provings of Hahnemann, I could find the remedy for myself. And it needed one dose, and I didn't have any complaints for 8 months. I tried it with low doses. It didn't work. It had to be a high dose with C200. So it's a quite low dose if we speak from the Kent's letter. But also this experience was very important for me to see, wow, the whole body reacts with a nettle rash. There was a really deep influence for the immune system. And this kind of aggravation that is often described can be the start of a really deep healing. And it has also, and this is a very important topic for myself too, and for my patients, this idea that some toxins have a long-lasting influence, that we have to be careful and always be aware what we let in our body. So in this case, my suffering started with a vaccine, and I wasn't aware before that, before the homeopathic education, that there could be so many side effects. Before I thought, yes, not everything should be vaccinated, but a basis should be helpful. And also becoming more sensitive that it's not a topic for everyone, but if you know about the time when the suffering started, it's always being like a detective and searching for some reasons why. If you see a correlation with the time, you have to be aware, as a homeopath, you have some remedies for choosing if there is a connection with that. So it's not, of course, only Tuya. There are several others too. And the list of peculiar symptoms, the characteristics of the patient, if you choose them wisely, to help to cure such detoxification, I always was impressed how this can be possible even after years of suffering. So I was deeply impressed, and so homeopathy caught me, and I really can say, so if the healing goes deeper, what is then some aspect Hahnemann is prescribing in his 9th paragraph, I think, the higher purpose. So, and I think this is a really essential question. So we are, during the time of suffering, connected with thoughts about these aspects in our daily lives, whatever is catching attention. But afterwards, to come more in the part of being a creator and being more artist, to make music, for example. And like Spinelli also said, he inspired me too for this aspect. Painting, he said in his second life, he would be a paint therapist. He's so deep impressed if he invites his patients to paint. So if they can't describe, let them paint. So this is really impressive thought. Beyond words, express with symbols. And I have used that not every time, but some patients I received also after treatment pictures, and I'm really deep impressed Nevertheless, they first were a bit skeptic. Should this be helpful? I could make the observation through seminars with oncological patients. There's a lot of anxiety, for example, and if you can't define what is all connected with my anxiety thoughts, if you can come into a flow of expressing them, for example, with painting, this can be part of the remedy, of the cure, of the journey of healing, or even if healing is not possible, to change the quality of life. And also this aspect, I wasn't aware how seldom in traditional medicine the aspect of quality of life questionnaire is used. So, for example, also Falk Master was a very helpful hint that he tries to use this in his hospital in Mumbai. So maybe you know him personally. And to see, this is one aspect we don't want to speak about. We are guests on planet Earth, and it shouldn't be always only the topic to stay alive forever. This is, sorry, not a helpful aspect to say as long as possible, not taking care of the quality during this time. So I also was inspired by the founder of the discipline of palliative medicine in Austria, Dr. Strahal, and to show he's no homeopath, but to have to share another wisdom, to listen to the patients also in the time and the end of life. So therefore, I think this could be a very helpful bridge between these two disciplines to have respect for taking few insight and backwards, and for the current state of the quality of life, what is needed. And I think I know there are many fights between the conventional medicine and the complementary medicine, but this is one aspect where also I made through seminars the experience that if you use music, for example, music therapy and music therapists, to give a shape for current experiences through some instruments people never had before, easy to play, to see they are really deeply inspired beyond words again. So one aspect, I think, why I'm interested for the aspect, what can help also to listen up the quality of a path of patients at the beginning of life for the children as with instruments too, of course, like in the end. So it's during the whole life could be helpful to invite to use creativity and to shape expressions, emotions, maybe that where you can find words immediately. And I think there's also a bridge to the current science of, it's called the theory of mind, that we now know if we observe in pictures how neurons are firing, and you speaking about what is self. what is this consciousness that can identify with that's me? It's always sensorical, motorical, and emotional triangle, always connected these together. So if you come to create something, all these three aspects are connected. And I think this is partly that what Hahnemann prescribes with his 9th paragraph, higher purpose, to be open for this aspect, creating something. So my influence with Dr. Spinetti prescribed. One person I have to name is Henny Hoydens-Mass from Belgium. And he made a lot of videos, and during her seminars, it was impressive how empathic she made her interviews and also the follow-ups to see how long-lasting this thread of being aware, what is the topic, how does it develop, ask for these points going through, and this was also very impressive teacher that inspired me. She was a disciple from Vitulkas. So you can see a bit, there are some threads that are connected, and I was blessed that this time range was open for that to come in contact with these very important practitioners. So for my experience to come closer to share this with you, to the scientific part, I told you I'm a curious person, and I was wondering, why is there such less acceptance for homeopathy, and tried to dig a bit about the years, what about the researches that are made, and other clinical trials and so on. And during my researches, this very important health technological assessment from Switzerland that was made in 2006. It was completed during this year. Was the influence that homeopathy was included into the healthcare system officially. And I didn't know when I started with the research what a huge influence pharma industry had to politics. They didn't want that these studies were published first, but nevertheless they were after 5 years of collecting them. And it's so important to know about this aspect, that there also was there were included data from insurances. So to have this also on mind, nevertheless, there are some studies, and it's difficult to describe what is really happening. It's very helpful to know, I think, for the decision in politics, to know, is a treatment efficient to lower the costs of healthcare? And this was shown in this health technological assessment from Switzerland. And I'm wondering that this is so seldom repeated as a helpful information, that, for example, it was Secur Vita, the insurance could show that the cost for hospital could be decreased for 30%. 30%. So this is really a huge amount of money if you use homeopathy. And I guess there is a connection between this kind of homeopathy is also a long-lasting primary prevention for chronic disease if you use them wisely in early childhood, for example. And this can be shown now in studies. And all these aspects to come closer, I tried to have an understanding for more scientific research. So I used PubMed a lot since now more than 20 years. I tried to share a bit, but I see it's quite difficult to find resonance for this kind of research. Even with colleagues, I appreciate them very much, but of course, a 24 hours day is enough. And if you are connected with your patients closely, there's not so much time to argument, homeopathy is working if you see it in your daily practice yourself. But I think so for the future, for this aspect, for a long-lasting help for patients, it's my opinion. I think it's really useful to go deeper into this kind of research and share all the studies that are made to see if you invest a bit of money, it need not to be millions. You can show pharmacognostic aspects, how less, let's use the term toxins or substances, particles are helpful for the immune system to react. So we need not to go in detail for, there are really many researches for that. But I would say there should be the possibility, if there are investigations for research, that the taxpayers are also asked. It sounds like it ought to be, but nevertheless, I will share this. What kind of therapy should be more included for the hospitals? So we in Austria, and if it's true for whole Europe, we have not a single hospital where you receive homeopathy. So I think this is a huge difference between India, where homeopathy is accepted, also in hospitals. Maybe you want to share some hints how the cooperation works in India with the different disciplines of homeopathy and, let's call it, conventional medicine.
Yeah, so in India, if it is an allopathic hospital, which means you have the conventional medicine that works over there. Formally, I have seen very few hospitals, at least personally, I know 2 or 3 hospitals who would, on paper, allow the patient the choice to take homeopathic medicine. Okay, one of the hospitals is from where I did my MD in homeopathy. That is one hospital, and there is another hospital in Pune, where in fact they had done research in the COVID times also. So yes, they would do that. They would allow research. What happens is when there is, and of course I want others also to comment about their experiences when there is a time when allopathic medicine does not work, and the doctor says, now if you want to do something else, you can try. Usually that is when the homeopath is called in. I have experienced this multiple times. I have seen miracles. I will not say there is 100% chance, but when there is no chance and you give homeopathy and there is an improvement, particularly my experience has been with stroke patients, that the recovery is faster
Mm.
when you start medicines early on.
Of
And
course, yeah.
yeah, I mean, then there are so many experiences with inpatient departments. I mean, of course, it was not a personal case, but back when I was studying, there was a case of, I think it was a terminal respiratory failure.
Mm.
I think a mid-aged man, and the doctor said, "Fine. I mean, there's nothing much we can do about it." And yeah, that time, the head of department of Materia Medica from the college where I did my MD, he started off a medicine. I think if I'm not mistaken, it was lachesis. And
Mm.
this man was desaturated completely. From that, he came back. I think he was ventilated. I'm not sure though. And he made a complete recovery. That was absolutely shocking.
Mm.
And there are hundreds of cases like this. Some are documented, some are not. And that is the reason why I feel that homeopathy, despite of all the attacks, has survived. Meaning, even if there is, with all due respect, I have had very good allopathic doctors who give reference to homeopathic doctors. I mean, in India, homeopaths are called doctors because we get formal education and we get a formal license and certificate.
Mhm.
Uh, they give, I mean, there are people who give reference, but then the question, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that even if there is no reference from an allopathic doctor, the word of mouth and the faith,
Mm.
and they see that, okay, this particular treatment helped a cousin of
Mm.
mine or, a friend of mine, with that faith, they would approach the doctor. That is how my experience has been.
Mm. This also sounds similar to the experience of Falk Master. I was astonished. He told that he also is very careful in the hospital with asking for treating homeopathy only with the patients in chronic disease. They primarily will be treated conventional. And I thought there's more acceptance for homeopathy in India. So it seems like there's a change that the Western medicine would be preferred more than homeopathy. True or sorry.
So what happens is, I'll just give you a very quick history is that when the word treatment is used, so when a patient comes to us even today, I mean, despite of now having an increasing amount of awareness of homeopathy, when the patient comes to us, the patient will not tell us, give me homeopathic medicine for a particular illness. They will always tell me, I have got an allergic cold. Can you treat
Mm.
it?
Mm.
Okay. And when we say that, so usually conventional medicine therapy is like this. They say there is a course of medication, which means it could be for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 months. Then they
Mhm.
ask, how long will, I mean, what is the course? Give me the full course of medication or give me a very strong medicine for my cold because that is how they are conditioned. Then we have to orient them that, okay, this is homeopathy. Have you taken it before? This is how it works. This is what you're going to expect. We still have to orient them.
Mm.
Now the times are changing. In the good old days, it used to be the case that whenever you have got an acute cold, cough, fever, you would go to your family doctor. That's the concept over there in India. That family doctor would give you they would dispense medicines from their clinic, maybe write some medicines from outside, which you have to buy from the pharmacy, and then you would get treated. But now what is happening is, at least the regular patient, which means someone who's been taking treatment from me since last 5 years, will come to me for the cold cough fever first rather than going to the allopathic doctor. And we have seen instances where even there are walk-ins in the clinic that I have got a fever or a viral fever or any XYZ acute illness. I would like to take homeopathy first. That is a change
Mm.
we are seeing.
Okay.
I can say so because I belong to a family of doctors. Okay, I am 38 right now, and right from my childhood, I've been seeing my grandfather practicing, my uncle practicing, aunt, everyone. So I've seen that shift from modern medicine towards homeopathy. In fact, as a child, me and my brother, we took a lot of homeopathic medicine. I still remember my brother was given rush talks by a friend of my father's who was a homeopath for about 103 or 104 fever. And I believe it was given in plusing or deviated dose method. And his fever went down. So yeah,
Oh.
that's how homeopathy is. That's the status of homeopathy in India. And of course, then we
Mm.
also have a segment which is managed by the government itself, which is the Ministry of Ayush.
Mm.
which means the central government takes care of it, and then there are state governments who look after it. We have got licensing authorities. We have got now we have got something called as National Council for Homeopathy, which takes care of regulating education to make it more and more competent every year.
So, to remember the personal influence for nutrition, I was very impressed how many studies could show, and they are still made, and is a very important and helpful link to Ayurvedic medicine, how herbs are working that are used in India for thousands of years. To see there's a lot of research that shows it's helpful. So I tried bit to invite patients to include these aspects because I know it's a bit tricky to change habits that you used for many years. Some are open, some are not. I would be interested how in India homeopaths invite to use also herbs. So do you always separate this from the Ayurvedic medicine?
So I can't speak on behalf of others, but I'll tell you what I do because my maternal grandfather, he was an avid reader of Ayurvedic medicine. So I am aware of what kind of food should be taken, what kind of herbs are useful. For example, if there is a patient who has a very bad cough at night, okay, if I'm giving the medicine, it is not working for him. Rather than giving him a cough syrup, I would recommend there is a Ayurvedic syrup which is called as Adulsa. It is prepared from the extract of Justitia adathoda. It is an excellent medicine for asthmatic cough. So at least I use that. I emphasize a lot on diet. There are homeopathic doctors who are into diet. I know my colleagues who are, not just with homeopathy, but then because what happens, I'll give you another example. I am about to interview that doctor. Is that she realized that despite of giving medicines, the disease would come back. That is when she started learning about diet, and when she started implementing that, she realized that the frequency of chronicity had dropped significantly. We are hoping, yes, in the future, this becomes more integrated. But at the same time, I would like to say that uh, please allow me because I was not able to. I was overwhelmed with the amount of experience and information that you had. Is that the way you ran the parallel between understanding the biography of illness to that of music, the motor, the sensory and the emotional integration, putting it into music or playing an instrument. And this is something is which I have not currently heard of. I have heard of listening to music and getting better. I mean, I remember there's some hospital in Switzerland who does that. There's an oncology hospital. The person would come with a violin and play that. But this is something which is unique.
Okay, interesting. So I also thought for my expectation from Indian tradition that singing and dancing has a deep influence in the daily life and culture. So I have to ask you before, because you said this is unique. There are so seldom moments where therapists invite patients to come closer to the aspect of becoming an artist for music, for dancing, for painting. You never heard this from colleagues?
No, so I have heard colleagues telling about, doodling, that they would allow the patient to draw something. But what you're talking about is something way beyond drawing. You're talking about allowing the patient a form of expression to the extent that it unwinds the disease process into a healing process. That is what I'm trying to say. That is very unique for me. And of course, India has a tradition of art. Fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know to that if it has been explored to that extent that it can be used as a therapy.
Mhm.
No doubt, arts. I understand that arts is some when you play an instrument, when you do some dancing, when you write something, when you sing, and
Yes.
if it strikes the right chord, it can transcend you into beyond your physical body.
Mhm.
Probably that is how the healing happens. I really don't know if that happens. And of course, those who are watching, I want you to comment if you have come across such experiences.
Mhm.
And for me, I am going to apply this for my patients.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, to speak for myself, I'm experimenting with different instruments myself to see also the different quality of sound. And my last experience is, so you can say, oh, it's too late to start with 50, a new instrument. But I feel really blessed to make the experience with the viola, a bit bigger violin. I also made experiences with oboe or with soprano saxophone, tuba, piano, guitar, and each instrument has a total different experience. So my conclusion is that this is also kind of homeopathy that you find yourself, and maybe we should keep focus for the early development to invite children to experiment and to come in touch with different instruments. So what is the similar instrument in this kind of homeopathic instrument to come closer to the possibility to express something for themselves and to feel, to come back to the viola, how strong and close to the heart the strings are vibrating. So this is really impressive experience from myself. Nevertheless, I thought I was close to music with drumming, totally different experience. And I I only can hope that we come more close back to this um, experience that you something create with your hands, with your breath, beyond the computer games. So this would be one aspect for itself. I don't know how the influences in India. I would expect it's similar to Austria, to Europe. We have a pandemic of computer games, and the parents suffer a lot, and if they try to reduce the time and so on. There are stories, maybe you know similar stories. This sounds sometimes really like war in the home flat or house to get rid of these addictions. And then you have, of course, to ask only to take it away, not to offer something where the child has the possibility to play. It's a really a deep need, and I think it's not only for children, also for grown-ups. So if you look for music schools online, I would always prefer, of course, live teachers, but to invite grown-ups. And I sometimes heard also this aspect from patients that they said, yes, they wanted to play an instrument as a child, but times were not perfect for that, too less money, what else, or no teacher. And I would say if there is something like that in the story that somebody said, yes, I would like to play which kind of instrument ever, this is part of the homeopathic diagnosis to invite him, please, if there was this need, and you say, I would still be curious to come close to this experience, to make music or play the drums, whatever. It can be replaced by globally. Like healthy nutrition can't be replaced by the globally. They are hints to come in an order process, and I would expect this a kind of daily order is that you have daily time beyond words, beyond thoughts, just feel sound. So this is for myself helpful, and I hope that I can inspire sometimes the patients. So I would be curious if you also have in your interviews questions for that aspect, if you could inspire maybe some patients to come in contact making music.
I haven't applied this so far, but like I said, I do wish to apply this. But I am curious though, if have you been able to find out what kind of music suits to what kind of temperaments or patient? Like for example, we have belladonna for a throbbing headache usually.
No, no, no. It's not like that. I would say it's just a hint. It's of course separated, and I have to less experience. It's not like every patient is invited to play an instrument like that. But if the,
Yes, yes. That is what I'm
there
trying to
is
understand. How do you filter?
and therefore I think this is the invitation for a journey to look for. So if the parents tell, oh, what they could do and should do, and of course there's always the question, so which kind of instrument would be nice, and to only to invite them to try something new, an instrument with maybe the combination that they can play in a band, to be connected as a group, for teenagers to play in a peer group, to invite these aspects of development attachment also as a more grown up. We have not the one as how helpful this can be to play, not in a philharmonics, so as a profession, but also if there are only small bands and creating songs themselves to write text and so on, how helpful this can be to have the feeling, I have a group, I'm connected with friends creating, and we are not only in addiction groups playing. I know this is a small amount that can be influenced, but I think it's a very helpful hint. So I'm not able to say which kind of remedy would use which kind of music. I think this is also not the topic. I know about the old tradition from, so how was this called? I forgot the name. In Arabic music styles, there was music therapy used as a receptional therapy, that you are passive listener. Of course, this can also have an impact, but like I try to give the picture, and this is an own profession also in Austria, music therapists. So you can invite them to come to go to them, also for the use in the hospital in Salzburg. It's possible to integrate this kind of therapy, or also for the painting therapy. This is an own profession where you have your intervals to go there. But to let the patients know that this can be helpful for the whole process, to find a new life order, to come more on this creative aspects. I think this is also this aspect we had in the pray call. This is a bit the picture that we can work together in different disciplines to coming closer to the aspect of empowering the creativity of suffering patients. And school system There are different school types. Some of them have more music in Salzburg than the average. There it could be helpful, of course, if the children are talented, but sometimes, so it really depends on the teacher. If the long-lasting connection helps to develop something, if there's enough space to invite their own creativity, or if you are strict and let's call it, you let not so many influences from the child itself to create something. Nevertheless, it's not such a complicated composition like from Bach or Mozart, but this is not the need from a child to play as early as possible difficult pieces. So I think also this approach, how music can have an helpful influence. There is something different, like with, I would call, old school music instrument teaching. So I guess there are different types of teachers from the constitutional types, and I can imagine that there's a change that, like I made the experience for my daughter's piano teacher, for example. This lady was amazing to invite my daughters to use their compositions themselves. So this was perfect, and she was impressed what was coming, so that they also could use this open space for creating their own pieces and to help them writing down what they are playing and how this could be continued and so on. So like I try to start that healing is part of become a creator again. I think children, if they are healthy, they are in this mood of creating with natural in nature in very early childhood, and this to keep it alive or to reawake. This is some aspect that I want to always to recommend to not only to patients, also to friends. Or I'm always curious also for people who how they create. So this process, first, it's not so important. Is this a song with? Can you earn so much money with that? Maybe sometimes this also happens, but if you listen to artists, sometimes it's like that they have a diary. I use this also during my musical study time, and sometimes I use this day. If there are melodies coming, where from ever, I try to sing and to use them for the instruments, play the viola or which kind of instrument to express something I'm in resonance with. And it's like the recommendation from Miles Davis. He said, play what you hear. And it's a bit, I would say, like homeopathy, that you express these melodies that you hear, that there is a resonance for similarity of something that we are surrounded. So there's a well-known book for musicians that are open for this topic, Nada Brahma, the world is sound. So I also was influenced by this aspect. And there are many similarities, I think, that if we work with healing plants and minerals and potentized toxins, that they have their own frequencies, their own melodies. It has something to do with the quality of shaped sound, shaped light. So if you go through the octaves from deeper sounds that you can hear high up, there is also mathematic logic in it that there are similarities between colors and sounds and so on. So this is an old wisdom that is used in different traditions, more in the East than in Western Europe. And I think with all this wisdom we could use from native cultures, we come closer to the aspect, and this is also, I would say, my conclusion so far, if it's okay for you to uh, make the circle round so far. When I started medicine, I was not aware of that music itself could be medicine. So I come closer to this aspect, like in Hahnemann's ninth paragraph, this kind of higher purpose to stay healthy. It is helpful to be a creator in daily life. And I would say this is a kind of the healing process. This is going further. There can always be challenges you can go through. And if you compare the biography, for example, from Beethoven or Bach, with compositions they made, there is science about that. When there were huge challenges, they were able to transform their suffering experience into music. And this is a great gift to us. Also a kind of, maybe this works to say, okay, sometimes it's really hard and you make experience with losses, whatever, but music can help to go through to it. So even if you're not playing an instrument, so I agree with you, it can be very helpful to listen. And so therefore I can invite to go for a journey, also to collect a bit more the different styles of music, also for old music. There are many Baroque orchestras digging for compositions that weren't heard for hundreds of years. So we are in a blessed time that old instruments can be built again, and these sound qualities that are helpful to have a connection, I would say, with spirituality through music and arts in the daily life. And I hope we can inspire ourselves to have an exchange, maybe for some more hints how we can invite and share experiences through the healing process with music.
No, certainly. I don't know currently how we can do this, but yes, it is something which should be done. However, I recall one reference. Dr. Rajan Sankaran, some time ago, he used to run music provings, which means he would invite people, he would make them listen to music, and then I think they would journal down probably what they felt. I'm not very sure about the exact method, but I remember there was a program he used to run. I'm not sure if he has published any outcome or what has happened to it. I have no idea. But yes, he did that. The second thing I want to share is you have taken us into a deep dive. I don't know how many of us listening to this would actually be able to. First of all, I want all of you to listen to this very attentively. This will be long, the podcast, but the depth to which you have taken us is, I mean, trust me, I mean, I currently cannot express that in words. You have hit raw
Mm.
nerves. Okay, I myself become a bit emotional while listening to you. I could recall so many things.
Mm.
So I hope all the others who are going to listen to this will perceive this depth, and not just that, they will start applying that. And particularly children, when a child says, I want to play the keyboard, but then the parents say, what will you do with this keyboard? It is not going to get you money. I mean, what are you going to do with that money which you have, and you have a diseased body and mind? What are you going to do with it? It is going to go to the hospital. For God's sake, do something with your mind and body so that you remain disease free for a long period of time. People are in a rat race to mint all sorts of money. Probably, I'm not sure. Maybe everywhere in the world that is the case. But what have we done with ourselves? We have destroyed our basic uh, being. No music, no art, nothing. I mean, you look at beauty, you cannot appreciate beauty because you don't have the eye for it. You have never
Mm.
felt it. You have never seen it. If you smell a flower, you don't even know what that smell is like.
Mm.
Your brain is not tuned to it. I remember as children, our father used to take us for a stroll in the night, and there is a particular flower. I don't know what is the English name for it. We used to call it as Rat Rani, which means it blooms in the night. That smell, every time we would have that smell, and
Mm.
and my father would, tell me that, okay, see, this is a flower, this is how it smells, it blooms at night, etc., etc. We have had so many sensory experiences. We have gone to the beach, we have felt the wind, we have seen the sunset, we have felt the waves, we have gone and wet our feet in the ocean.
Oh.
Oh my God! Sorry, I if I say anything more, I will break down.
Mm.
So yeah, I hope people enjoy this and learn something from this and apply it into their life. There's a lot more I believe we can talk about. I would like to end this podcast at a very high note over here, unless you have something to summarize and share with us.
So finally, one hint, if the parents ask what should be an instrument for, be aware of that Nobel Prize winners like Einstein, or also the current Nobel Prize winner uh, Anton Zeilinger from Vienna, they made music, and also quantum physics was a pianist. Keep in mind that for every profession, to solve problems that are complex, if you have the possibility to transform complexity, maybe there is a path that is able to go through because you have learned to form complexity into melodies. Nevertheless, there is a tension. The tension can be resolved. And this is a very often experience in music. So therefore, Anton Zeilinger was asked in an interview, and he told the deeper he goes to quantum physics, the more he plays the cello. So this is a really amazing aspect that the tension we are in our daily lives for so many aspects we are not aware of. It could be an invitation to increase our awareness for ourselves and, of course, to have a more peaceful influence for our society. I'm really hope, like a musician described this, made music casts with children, that this have a long-lasting impact, like from South America. Can't recall his name. El Sistema. He took children from the street. Nevertheless, they hadn't a real instrument. Some of them had, and he invited to have that the children use the same movements. So to use the mirror neurons to be together connected through music, and this had such a peaceful influence for the children, fighting less and have more harmony together, that I think like also for the East and West Orchestra, it should be done more often. The different cultures make music together and share these aspects in I wouldn't like to say Olympic Games, but we haven't something like that. So maybe also this is an aspect I really want to close now, but thank you for being inspired with the talk. We have Olympic Games for the measurement of who runs faster and jumps wider and higher and so on. But we have no tradition that we share the different cultures in different countries to celebrate this and to see the beauty of, for example, circle dancing from not only Greeks, from different countries. This is a quite often used tradition. Yes, thank you for recalling that there's a huge box of treasure in our experiences, human beings through so many generations. Maybe we can recall these virtual experiences again and follow the path as a homeopath to recall the higher purpose from Hahnemann's idea, what is possible with a healthy vital force. So thank you so much, and I hope we can continue sometime.
Thanks to you. Trust me, it was fantastic. I don't know. I don't want to express and spoil this. I'll just stay with this for now. For those who are watching, please mention in the comments if you can. If you can't mention in the comments, play an instrument. Do something. Do something artistic. Draw something. Write something. At least think about it. Probably you will be able to do something, because that is what Vartaalap is all about, where we learn about each other. And then what I realize now is we are also learning about each other's culture. And that discussion, that what we call as Vartaalap in Sanskrit, will help others. So yes, thank you once again for being part of Vartaalap. Yes, looking forward to more such Vartaalaps with you.
Namaste from Salzburg.
Namaste. All right. Thank you.